Listeria risks and controls, new insights. In food safety, risk assessments are performed for food pathogens so that controls and mitigations can be targeted and effective. In the case of Listeria, risk assessments aim to prevent contamination and growth of the bacterium in food production environments and in food products. Reminder, we care about Listeria because it has a very high hospitalisation rate, 94%, and a very high mortality rate compared to most foodborne pathogens. And the mortality rate, that's the number of people who die, has been estimated at 20 to 30% of patients. And Listeria can multiply in food while it is in the refrigerator. Many qualitative and quantitative risk assessments have been published for Listeria over the years. The most common food addressed in these risk assessments is meat products, because meat is a common vector for listeriosis infections. What if we could look at all the risk assessments together and figure out which controls are best overall when it comes to reducing the risk of foodborne illness from Listeria? Well, now we can. Researchers have examined 23 quantitative risk assessment models for Listeria monocytogenes in meat products to understand the relative effectiveness of controls and extract key information for future Listeria risk assessment models. Processed meat products become contaminated with Listeria monocytogenes in two main ways. Either 1, the raw materials are initially contaminated and processing methods fail to sufficiently reduce the pathogen's presence, or 2, contact between the finished product and contaminated raw materials or other surfaces results in post-processing contamination. Cross-contamination can occur during processing by the manufacturer, for example during slicing, or while the product is in the care of the retailer, for example during deli handling or slicing, or in a consumer's home. The risk assessments considered a range of controls, including refrigerator storage temperatures, duration of storage, product formulation, and that would include the acidity, fermentation cultures, and water activities, growth inhibitors, that would be nitrites, lactates, and diacetates, biopreservatives such as lactic acid bacteria cultures, post-process lethality treatments like in-package pasteurization, and vacuum packaging. After reviewing the risk assessments, researchers concluded that, when viewed as a whole, they converged on two key outcomes. And the first outcome was, when it comes to food storage conditions and shelf life, shortening the time to consumption, and that means like a shorter expiry date, was less effective at reducing risk than ensuring that cold storage temperatures were properly controlled. And the second one was that while it's important to have properly controlled storage temperatures and short storage duration in retail outlets and homes, it is actually far more effective to have lower numbers of Listeria monocytogenes at the end of processing, including after slicing in a retail setting. Now, those outcomes aren't perhaps not too surprising to food safety experts, but it's really good to hear that these Listeria prevention strategies are robustly supported by the latest science. In short, risk assessments are performed for foodborne pathogens so that controls and mitigations can be targeted and effective. Researchers who reviewed 23 quantitative risk assessments for Listeria monocytogenes in meat products concluded that properly controlled refrigerated temperatures led to a greater quantifiable risk reduction than shorter storage durations, and that lower levels of contamination at the end of processing were far more effective than controlling storage temperature or duration. And as always, I've got the sources for everything that I've said in the email and the post. The main source was Gonzalez and Barron 2024, Gonzalez and Barron et al. 2024. And their paper was called A Critical Review of Risk Assessment Models for Listeria monocytogenes in Meat and Meat Products. And I've also got some more reading for you if you're interested, or more learning, and that is a fact sheet on Listeria from the US FDA and a link to a webinar on Listeria management from BRCGS Ask the Experts.